want to bring our panelists back in, of course, the former mayor and Pat. Pat, starting with you, RNC, there wasn't a lot of protesting going on. My understanding is that everything stayed pretty peaceful. I know there was an incident where someone was neutralized, if you could say, had some sort of weapon. But when you see this type of stage, the DNC, in a major city, as you were saying, like Chicago, what are the challenges that you think that brings for Democrats as they're trying to put this on this week?
Well, they got to pull it off. I mean, the mayor's got a lot of risk here, too. If this goes south, they're going to be asking a lot of questions about why he didn't prepare better. So there is a risk that they seem as a party in chaos, which they did in '68. And I think that's the risk to them. That if there's fighting in the streets, that's going to reflect negatively on the Democrats as a whole. Now, again, the RNC, there were protests, but they were 4 or 5 blocks away. Nothing like this. But listen, it looks like everything's well under control, and I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, so the whole thing may be a big non-issue.
Mayor, we'll give you the last word. If you were still on the 5th floor, would there be anything that would give you reason to maybe not get a good night's sleep tonight?
Well, no, I mean, look, if you're the mayor, you better be worrying to make sure that this week is a love letter to the city of Chicago. You see all those protesters out there. The crowd is building. 1,000 is certainly manageable. And you've got to be thinking about not only their safety, the police are out there to make sure that they can peacefully protest and exercise their First Amendment rights. You've got to make sure that those businesses along that route, were communicated with effectively so that they can make decisions about are they going to be open, are they not going to be open, and if they choose to be open, to make sure that customers can actually get in there and not have to worry about what's going on. Part of the reason you see the bike squads lining each side is for all those reasons, to protect the protesters, to make sure that businesses and property are also protected. And I just want to pick up on a point of the conversation earlier. You don't wait to call in the additional resources. I guarantee you've got the Cook County Sheriff's Police that are on standby. They may even be interspersed in this crowd. You've got a bunch of undercover folks that are undoubtedly in the crowd as well. You don't wait until something happens. You have those resources at the ready. If you need to call upon them, then they can be there quickly. And I would think that probably since earlier this year, they've been drilling with their county, state, and federal partners to make sure, in the worst case scenario, how quickly can they get to the scene if something happens. So it feels okay today, but it's early.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about bringing the DNC here, there was a lot that you even had to show to the committee, including how you were going to keep people safe.
Absolutely.
So those were factors that were considered even years ago.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, look, the DNC has put on conventions. I think it's the party that's put on the most conventions in the history of our country. The people that were part of the team doing the evaluation of the various bidders, these are very, very experienced people. Many of them had been on these committees for multiple conventions, and obviously public safety is a major concern, not outsize, frankly, which we were worried about, but they want to make sure that people can come, enjoy themselves, the protesters can do their thing, exercise their First Amendment rights, but everybody's got to be peaceful, and the delegates can get in and out of the daytime venue and the nighttime venue.
It's also picking up a tremendous opportunity for the city, because if you're on social media or the blogs today, they're all like, oh, Chicago, Chirac, people are getting shot. I think this is a great opportunity to show that's not what the city's all about. Like you were mayor, went through a horrible time with the riots, but that's long gone.
Yeah.
And the crime problem has gotten better. So hopefully this is an opportunity for Chicago to showcase itself as the city that works, as they used to say. And it's a great place to be.
Well, and you learn from those experiences, and I have no doubt that people have gone back and looked at what worked and what didn't work from the summer of 20 and built that into the training that they've given the officers. So, again, it's early, but, I have optimism and confidence that things will go fine.
You and I talked about this before we went on the air earlier, Mayor, but why not bring in the National Guard to use as a traffic control for logistics and, and traffic enforcement, or, just basically put them in an area to guide traffic, and then that way you have that many more officers to use on the street?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that the National Guard is a panacea. It's not. The National Guard are military, and they are trained, if there's a threat, to put down the threat. That's not what's needed in this kind of circumstance. You need people who are trained in de-escalation. Yeah, of course, the additional resources, but you're getting that from people who are trained as local police officers. The sheriff's police, those folks have been phenomenal partners for years under Sheriff Tom Dart. You've got the state police that are also well trained in how to be local police. And if there's additional resources that are needed, fine. But getting the National Guard spun up at the last minute is very difficult. It takes 48 to 36 hours from the time you make the request to the governor to get them on the ground here. And they can't stay indefinitely in a non-emergency situation. But they'll have enough resources with these mutual aid agreements that are always in place, and I'm sure that have been tapped into for purposes of this week.
All right. Well, as you've been talking there, we've looked at a different view here. We saw Dave Savini step out of the shot, and you can see those rows of officers very calmly walking there to the right. And then we also have what has turned into that pro-Palestinian demonstration as they come down. What is this, Michigan Avenue at this point? We are wrapping up here, but Dave, I don't know if you can hear me. Any changes to the scene out there, the crowd size?
Yes. No, it's pretty peaceful. I would say that, a sign of confidence here is that none of these businesses are boarded up. Michigan Avenue, they did not board up the businesses, so apparently they weren't expecting any trouble. There was a man who was standing on top of an entranceway to the pedway, and police just walked him down, and they didn't even arrest him. They just said, they shook his hand and told him to, walk away, and he did. So I think right now things are being handled very well.
Yeah, handshaking is a positive sign there.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
De-escalate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us here on the stream for this continuing coverage of the DNC and all that it involves with our panelists, our team out in the streets bringing us the updates, and of course everyone in the studio to make this happen.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on what's happening on Michigan Avenue tonight, and if something does develop, we will definitely break back in here on the stream. Meantime, we'll have much more from our reporters around the city here, and also our political analysts in studio with us coming up on our news tonight at 10.
We'll see you then.